So good morning everyone. My report is all about poetry from the archipelago. So first, let us know or define what is poetry. So poetry is probably the most sophisticated of all literary genres. Filipino ancestors, through oral tradition, shared epics, proverbs, riddles, and folk songs in poetic form with specific formal scheme in which they strictly followed. So poetry is still chosen genre of many local writers, for it offers a uniqueness that other genres may not achieve. And also, we all know nga ang poetry is a type of literature that conveys a thought, describes a scene in a concentrated, lyrical arrangement of words as well. And then, let us proceed to types of poetry. First, we have haikus. So, what is haikus, Mandiay? So, the haiku originated from Japan. It is the shortest type of poem and often the most difficult to understand. So, example sa ubos. As you can see, it consists of 3 lines that generally do not rhyme. The line should have 5, 7, and 5 syllables in them and often describes something in nature. And then another types of poetry is free verse poem, as defined here that or another type of poetry. A free verse is the lossless type of poem, consists of as many lines as the writer wants, can either rhyme or not, and it does not require any fixed metrical pattern. So, free verse poems, from the word itself free, it does not use consistent meter patterns, rhymes, or any musical patterns. So, next is the sonnets. The sonnets are another classification of poetry. A sonnet is best described as a lyric poem that consists of 14 lines. Sonnets have at least 1 or 2 conventional rhyme schemes. Shakespeare in particular was famous for writing sonnets. So, ang sonnet is kanang 1 stanza ni siya with 14-line poem written in iambic pentameter and with a strict rhyme scheme. Next are name poems. As defined here, are popular among children and are often used in schools. The name of the person becomes the poem. Each letter in the name is the first letter in the line of the poem. So below is the example of name poems, wherein matawag na to siya acrostic poem. When we say acrostic, kay certain letters in each line spells out the name or a word or phrase. And now we are done with types of poetry. Then, let us proceed to elements of poetry. So, we have here the senses and images. So, kibaw kung familiar ra kaayo ni sa inyo, diba? So, here are the 5 senses: the sense of sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. So, unsa may gamit ani niya or purpose? So, the poets use the senses and images to draw readers into a sensory experience and makaprovide sa reader of mental snapshots that appeal to our senses. Next is the diction. So diction is another important element in poetry. So diction is the denotative and connotative meaning of the words in a sentence, phrase, paragraph, or poem. So ang diction kay simply the words the writer chooses to convey particular meaning, or it's simply the choice of words, especially with regard to correctness, clearness, or effectiveness. So next is the rhyme scheme. Is the way the author arranges words, matters, lines, and stanzas to create a coherent sound when the poem is read out loud. It may be formal or informal depending on the way the poem was written by the poet. So ang rhyme scheme kay ordered pattern of rhymes ni siya at the end of the lines of a poem or verse like A, B, A, B, A, B, B, and so on. I guess, gidiscuss na ni BL if my memory serves me right. So next is the alliteration. Is a repetition of the same consonant sounds in a sequence of words, usually at the beginning of a word or stressed syllables. Descending dew drops. Luscious lemons. So as you can notice, kay ang alliteration is based on sounds of letters rather than the spelling of the words. So next is the assonance. It's the repetition of similar internal vowel sounds in a sentence or a line of a poetry. As I rose and told him of my woe. So So, masabtan naman siya, no? No need to explain for this na. So, next is the figurative language. It's a form of language used in which the writers and speakers mean something other than the literal meaning of their words. So, simply refers to language that is not literal, or the comparison to something else, so that one thing is seen in terms of another. So, next is the rhyme. So, is the repetition of identical or similar concluding syllables in different words, most often at the end of lines. So, rhyme. So, familiar kayo, no? A literary device in which similar syllables in different words are repeated. So, next is the rhythm. So, is the term used to refer to the recurrence of stress and stress sounds in poetry. So, ang rhythm kay beat or flow sa usa ka poem to express and convey feelings. So, next is stanza. It's a grouping of lines set off by a space which usually has a set pattern or meter and rhyme. So, familiar, ano? And last elements kay ang tone conveys the speaker's implied attitude towards the poem subject. So, the tone is simply the attitude you feel in it. The writer's attitude toward the subject or audience, whether formal ba, friendly, or optimistic. And I guess that would be the end of my report. Thank you for listening. God bless.